Yo, what's up, gamers? I got a little bit of a different video for you here today. We're going to be doing a Beyond Light prep guide. I know a lot of other content creators have posted Beyond Light prep guides, but I'm just going to do one as well, just in case there's something else you get out of mine that you didn't get out of theirs. But anyway, to get right into it, we're going to be talking about materials, because materials are very important, especially at the start of a new season. They give you a big head start in things like leveling up, upgrading gear, stuff like that. Starting off, we're going to be looking at planetary materials. I would recommend getting 1,000 minimum of each planetary materials. As far as planets that are going away, we don't really know what the materials are going to be used for. Bungie hasn't said anything, but I would still keep them. Next, golf balls and prisms, so ascendant shards and enhancement prisms. You can keep a maximum of 10 in your shared inventory between your three characters, 10 ascendant shards and 50 prisms. And then in the Postmaster, you can also have 10 and 50. So you've got a maximum of 40 ascendant shards and 200 enhancement prisms that you can hold on your characters, which is a good amount, but with all the Grandmaster double loot guaranteed golf balls, there is a chance that you can get way more than that. So if you didn't know, there's a way to store golf balls in your Postmaster. What you're going to want to do is, once you are farming your GMs or whatever and you get an excessive amount of golf balls, you're going to pick any exotic armor piece. I did Graviton Forfeit just because it looks cool. A little bit of Eternal Warriors and some Astrocytes. And what you're going to do is you're going to masterwork them and then toss them into your vault, and you can use them later. And so what happens is, when you delete these masterworked exotics, got one right here, you're going to get some of your materials back. So you delete masterworked exotic, you get 1 shard, 6 legendary shards, 2 enhancement prisms, and 2 enhancement cores. So you're losing some materials, but you're saving 1 prism. So your shard, you put in 3 ascendant shards, you get 1 back. And if you have as many as we did after farming Lake of Shadows when it was double loot, you can just use these next season, season after, whenever. Next, speaking of enhancement cores, there is a way to farm enhancement cores. Not really farm, but use other materials to get more of them. So I'm running pretty low on enhancement cores. So what you can do is, right now you can come over to Ava and you're going to want to pick up one of these masks. So the reason you want to do these masks is because they're only 100 Glimmer. If you pull stuff out of collections, it's going to cost more Glimmer, possibly some shards and gunsmith materials. But these are only 100 Glimmer each. It doesn't matter which one you grab. So just pick one. And they start off at 6 energy, which is important, because you're going to go upgrade them to 8. So that was 2 cores, 1 prism, and some shards. And then you're going to delete them, and you get back 6 enhancement cores. So you're basically trading 2 enhancement prisms for 3 enhancement cores. If you have an excessive amount of prisms, that is a great way to get some enhancement cores. Next, we got Glimmer. As you know, you're maxed out 250,000 Glimmer, but there's a way to kind of store it in your vault, similar to Ascendant Shards. You're gonna get, this time, you can either do ships or sparrows. Now the main ship that people do is Zavala's Authority, but I do not have that because I did not play during that season. But if you go to your collections, equipment, Ghosts. I am doing the Outbreak Perfected ship because it is 7,500 Glimmer and 5 legendary shards, which is the same as Evolve's Authority. And what happens when you delete them is you get back 5,000 Glimmer and 2 shards. So you lose 3 shards and 2,500 Glimmer. But when you're maxed on Glimmer, this is a good way to store some for later, for when you need it. Next, Tokies. We're playing Chuck E. Cheese. So, Crucible and Vanguard tokens. Those are the important ones. I would recommend getting 1,000 of each, but I have a lot more than that. 1,000 would probably be the minimum you're going to want to get for next season, because Shaxx and Zavala will give you powerful gear, which helps you level up faster. So these tokens are big. There's really no need to spend them now. No reason to. Yeah. Next, your Postmaster. Yes, your Postmaster. Not many people talk about it, but it is very important. Like I said earlier, you can store Ascendant Shards and Enhancement Prisms here. I don't have any on this character, but I've got max on my other 2 characters. The other thing you're going to want to keep is some exotic world drops. The reason being is because next season, with the new exotic coming, if you have an exotic engram in the Postmaster, you are guaranteed to get an exotic you do not have. So essentially, you can get all new exotic armor on day 1 of next season if you have enough exotics, which could be huge, because there are some exotics that, from what we've seen so far, could be very, very good. The other thing you might want in your Postmaster is ethereal keys from Last Wish, because with the changes to mods and raid gear, the raid gear we have now will not be as good as the new stuff. So saving ethereal keys will let you open multiple chests at the end of Last Wish, which you can do at the start of next season to hopefully get some new gear and better gear, which would be nice. I don't have any on me, but not necessary. It's just something you can do. Next, we got bounties. Bounties, bounties, bounties. And the reason you want to save bounties is because they give you a ton of experience. And experience is going to level up your artifact. So what you do is, as soon as you get the seasonal artifact, you turn in the bounties you have saved, because that gives you a ton of levels on your artifact, which helps you reach max power as fast as possible. Now, there are some bounties you're not going to want to save. For example, the Recaster bounties, because at the bottom there it says expires at the end of Season of Arrivals. Don't save those. Festival of the Lost bounties expire. Planets that are going away, do not save those. Those expire. The bounties you're going to want to save are Banshee, Vanguard, Crucible, Moon bounties, Clan bounties, Trials bounties if you do them. I have some Iron Banner bounties saved as well. But you're going to want to focus on weeklies, because weeklies give the most experience. Weeklies give you 12,000 experience, dailies give you 6,000, and then repeatables give you 4,000. So I don't have any repeatables in here. You should be able to get enough weeklies and then dailies to max out. And your max is going to be 63 that you can hold if you don't have any quests. So your quests and your bounties are a shared space of 63 total. So as you can see, I don't have any quests here. I know some people will, but it's just a shared space, so know that if you have too many quests, you won't be able to get a lot of bounties. Next up, we got exotic weapons and their catalysts, because with the planets going away, you won't be able to get some, or at least they'll change the way you get them. So I just recommend getting them now while you can. First off, for Kinetic Weapons, I recommend getting the Outbreak Perfected and its Catalyst, because the Outbreak mission, I believe, is going away. Also, when you get these exotic catalysts, you're going to want to complete them by the end of the season, just in case for whatever reason they go away or they change. We don't know, but I would recommend getting them and completing them. Next, Huckleberry. This one's not going away, but it could be very, very good next season. You get this one from Heroic Missions, or Heroic Adventures, sorry. Huckleberry is a very, very good gun and can be very useful next season. Izanagi's. Get this catalyst and get it done. It's one of the best weapons in the game. You get this from 801, and as we know, 801 is going away. And then Witherhoard, this is part of the season pass. Get this catalyst completed. Yeah, it's just really good, so I definitely would get that. Moving on to energies, Ariana's. You can use an exotic cipher to get this from Rahul. It is very good against barrier champions for things like Nightfalls. It's probably the best anti-barrier weapon. Fourth Horseman, if you have the catalyst, complete it. This thing is very good for burst damage, and you can't get the catalyst or the weapon anymore, so if you have them both, complete them. Moving on to power weapons, get 1K. 1K is insane, comes from Last Wish. Sleeper Simulant comes from Mars, and so does the catalyst. Or no, the catalyst, sorry, comes from Prestige Spire Stars, which is going away, so I recommend getting this and completing the catalyst. Acreus comes from Leviathan, and its catalyst comes from Prestige. I recommend completing this. Whisper, the Whisper mission's going away. Get that and complete it. Anarchy, one of the best weapons in the game, comes from Scourge of the Past, which is going away. Get this. Very important. Sticking with weapons, God Rolls. God Rolls you're going to want to have for next season. There's a handful of them. The other thing about God Rolls is we don't know if they're going to be changing the sandbox at all, or if there's going to be nerf buff to any specific weapon types. But as of now, this is just what the best options are, and will likely be the best options starting off next season. For kinetic weapons, you're going to want a Supremacy. Comes from Last Wish. As long as you have triple tap and appended or extended mag to give you the 7 in the mag, it doesn't really matter. I like Snapshot because you can't get rapid hit and triple tap on this thing. Breachlight, sidearms are pretty good, and this is probably the best kinetic other than Buzzard. You get this from the Recaster and Umbrals. You can focus for it. I have Outlaw Rampage. You can go with Outlaw Vorpal. I've got both of them. It's very good. Huckleberry, like I said earlier, very good for ad clear. Escape Velocity, this is probably the best kinetic legendary submachine gun. I've got pretty much a God Roll. Overflow Surrounded. Surrounded with the Surrounded spec is probably the most important here. Overflow is just very nice. On primary weapons, Long Shadow, same as Supremacy. It's an adaptive frame, so it's more sustained damage instead of burst damage. I have rapid hit triple tap and a snapshot triple tap, but as long as you have triple tap and either appended or extended mag, that is good. Night Watch, yes, scout rifles are pretty bad right now, but they were good at one point, so they may return. I would get a explosive payload, just because then there's no range fall off, but ultimately it's personal preference. I recommend getting some sort of kinetic shotgun that isn't getting sunset. I have a Toil and Trouble with autoloading, just because autoloading is beast. Doesn't really matter the perks on it. Next, I have an old fashioned, probably the best kinetic hand cannon you can get. I've got Demo and Kill Clip. perks don't really matter a whole lot, but main thing you'd use this for is for unstoppables and things like nightfalls, etc. Moving on to energy weapons. Gnawing Hunger. This thing is probably the best primary weapon right now. This is the curated roll from Tier 3 Reckoning, Likeness of Oryx. Weak. I highly recommend you get this. This thing is insane. Overflow again, Rampage. You can get a Subsistence Rampage or something else with Rampage from the Umbrals. If you can't get this one took me a while to get, but just get a Gnawing Hunger. It is fantastic. Another 600 RPM auto rifle Summoner from Trials. It is 3 wins this week, but that's only for another 12 or 24 hours, sadly. It's a solar. I think Gnawing Hunger is better, but this is just a solar option that you can use. It's still very good. It can roll with Overflow and Rampage like the one I have here, which is your best PvE roll. More primaries. The Iclos SMG. This thing is the best for Warmind cells. God roll is going to be Threat Detector Surrounded. You can also go Threat Detector Vorpal. It's very good. Definitely better than the 7th Seraph SMG, but I mean, then again, it is personal preference. Ancient Gospel hand cannon from Garden of Salvation. It's not the best hand cannon, but it is the best and the only solar hand cannon other than Sunshot. You can get things like Outlaw Swashbuckler, Rapid Hit Swashbuckler, Outlaw Dragonfly. Personal preference here, but I recommend getting one. Another hand cannon, Nation of Beasts from the Last Wish raid. I have the curated roll here, the Outlaw Dragonfly. You can also get things like Outlaw Explosive, Outlaw Rampage. I recommend getting at least one of those. Now moving to secondary weapons in the energy slot. These are going to be probably insanely good. And you might be wondering why I've got 2 of them. That's because they're different rolls here. This Orwings has blinding grenades, so it's basically a mini Wendigo GL3. And blinding nades are insane. You literally blind the enemies, they stop shooting you, and you can just lay into them. This one, Truth Teller, has spike nades, so this is going to be the closest thing to Mountaintop. It is not as good at all, but it's the closest thing you want. And on both of these, the most important perk, other than blinding and spike, is going to be auto-loading, just so you can shoot it, switch to your kinetic or heavy, and then deal with ads from there. Next, we got EP Shoddy. You get this from the Prophecy Dungeon, and it's got a lot of different rolls you can get on it. You can get Threat Detector Trench Barrel. This is the Year 1 version, but you can get Threat Detector Trench Barrel, Threat Detector Vorpal, Lead from Gold, Fiend Frenzy Surrounded, lots of different things. I highly recommend getting one of these. And then lastly, the first in, last out shotgun. This is a slug, and slugs got a buff recently, so they are actually very good. The main 2 perks you're going to want on here is autoloading and Vorpal. In the magazine, you're going to want Assault Mag because it increases your RPMs by 5, but these 2 are more important. Slugs are a little more difficult to use, but if you are good with them, they are very good. Moving on to power weapons. I already talked about exotics that you're going to want. Anarchy, 1K, Whisper, Sleeper, all those. As far as legendaries, there's really only a couple that you're going to want. For Grenade Launcher, Interference is probably your best option. If you're going for DPS on bosses, you're going to want Full Court Spike. Autoloading is a bonus, so is Full Court really. You only need Spike just for the maximum DPS. You can also use things like Behringer's Memory from the Recaster. The Iron Banner one, Swarm of the Raven, if you get lucky enough to get a good roll on that. Also, yeah, I don't know. as far as legendary machine guns go, this is the only one not getting sunset, and you can't get it anymore. So if you got one of these, keep it. It is very useful. It also spawns more mine cells, which is very good. Other than that, if you don't know by now, I don't know. You must not play this game very often, but Falling Guillotine. This thing is insane. It is pretty much broken. God roll you're going to want is Whirlwind, Relentless. You can also get Surrounded in here, which is very, very situational. Whirlwind is definitely the more useful and more usable one. For the guard, you're going to want Swordmaster because it increases the charge rate. And then for perks, you're going to want Jagged Edge just because it increases the impact and does the most damage. But I just like Temper just for that extra ammo since it does so much damage in general. That is pretty much it for weapons. Again, it's personal preference and we don't know what is going to change with the sandbox, so we don't really know what's going to be the meta of the meta next season. These are just the best right now and our best ideas of what's going to be good. Next, moving on to mods. Mods are very important and can basically make or break builds. Banshee right here sells a different mod every day. He can sometimes sell charged with light ones, which you should just be checking every day in case he's selling ones you don't have. Charged with light mods come from the Recaster. The Recaster is selling, I think, a total of 5 mods that you're going to want to pick up. Other than that, your most important mods are going to be things like these charged with light ones here, high energy fire. These are going to be very, very useful next season. As you see, I don't have all of them. I've got most of them. Protective light is insane. All of these. Global reach is what makes you spawn war mine cells. These are very, very important. If you don't have them, go get them. Banshee sells them occasionally. And then if we go down to the butthole down here, so here are some of the charged with light mods that the Recaster is selling right now. Come pick these up. They're not expensive at all. These 5 are always here. They're not the most useful ones, but you definitely are going to want them. Alright guys, that is pretty much it for the Beyond Light prep. All of that should give you a good advantage and good start come next season to get as high power level and ahead of the game as you can. If you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment in the YouTube video or come into my stream. I stream pretty much every day. I'll leave the link down below in the description, as well as a link to a spreadsheet from Anti-Solar Flare about God roll weapons. The spreadsheet's literally insane. There's so much information on it. So I'll leave those links in the description, and thanks for watching.